Hi, this is Margaret Hershey on The Move with Margaret, and this is a podcast where I interview women who inspire me to be the best that I can be. And we're really hoping that they will inspire you to know that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And today, my amazing guest from Zimbabwe via South Africa and now in Baltimore in America is Jenni Gault. So, Jenni, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Margaret. Wonderful
Oh,
to see
it's
you again.
so fabulous to have you. And how strange is it that here I am in Florida and you in Baltimore, and we are beaming to all over the world, but most of our followers are in South Africa. So to all the South African girls, you can do anything, you can go anywhere. And Jenni and I are both here, not because we don't love South Africa, we love South Africa. We're here for the adventure. It's an adventure, it's something to do. We get out and we see amazing things. So, Jen, let's just go back. We were both born in Zimbabwe now. Isn't that incredible?
Yes.
It was the copper mines and the gold mines and the diamond mines. And everybody was
Yes.
rushing there because there was so much work. And that's where we were born. So tell us about the Jenni growing up in Zimbabwe.
Okay. So at school, this is great because at school, I was an absolute nobody. At the ripe old age of 54, I was diagnosed as ADHD, and I was so surprised. And my family were like, seriously, you didn't know that? So I used to sit at the back of the class and be distractive and be in trouble and didn't do my homework and barely scraped through. And I think if I'd had some sort of homeopathic drops or something good to take, I probably would have done a lot better. But I used to swim. I was a swimmer, as are you. And yeah, I spent my life in the pool. If I wasn't swimming, I just wasn't operating.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, those were wonderful days. I always say Zimbabwe is God's own country, but unfortunately it went downhill. And so we both came to South Africa. So I came a long time before you. And I always remember you telling me about when you came to South Africa and you came through the border and you were sitting in Messina and you walked out that day and you just saw, and as I see people looking back at me to say, well, what are you going to do? And you saw them looking
Yeah,
back at you and saying, what are you going to do? And you thought, well, I better do
yeah,
something. So take us back to
yeah.
that day.
It was a rough one. I literally and honestly had 500 Rand in my pocket. Didn't have any work tools. We'd left in a tearing hurry, trying to sort out my mum and dad. It was a really, really unpleasant period of time that Zim was going through. Our son Beansy was 16 months old, and I literally looked around and thought, all right, what are we going to do now? And I took my 500 Rand and I went to Ngwenya Glass, bought some little glass animal figurines, made a couple of necklaces, bought some findings, put petrol in my car, and I went and I sold them. And I rinsed and repeat that a dozen times. And then after about a year and a half of doing this, 18 months of doing this, building up enough capital, I went to Swarovski and I said to them, right, I'm a great designer and I need you guys to pay attention to me.
And that was incredible. But tell us about your journey from Messina getting down to what made you go down to PE of all places?
So we left in 2009. What we'd done is we'd moved all the family out of Zimbabwe, and they'd sort of all gone on their own different directions. Some of the family in Cape Town, some of the family in Pretoria, and Petersburg just had no sort of hold for us. My husband Bruce had been brought up and schooled in PE, and we decided it was a good place to take our son Beansy.
Yeah, that's incredible. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place to live and to grow up. And, I always say there's no place like
Yeah.
South Africa. Now, we were introduced by our mutual friend, Edith Spencer, because I was at a function one night and Edith came in and she always looks amazing. And I saw she had this beautiful ring on. And I said to her, Edith, where did you get that ring? It's just amazing. And she said, oh, it's from my friend Jenni Gault. And she's a designer and she designed this ring and you can change the colors. And I've got the pendant on that I can change the colors on now. And I've got my beautiful earrings on that you made for me and my beautiful bracelets. And you make such amazing things. But tell us about when you first started and you went to Swarovski and you said, I'm a designer, look after me. And they didn't kick you out the door. So they must have looked at your work and thought, well, this girl is quite good. Tell us about that journey.
Well, it was with Edith. It was a beautiful, beautiful story. Back in 2006, I was as quiet as a church mouse back in the day and absolutely terrified that anyone who'd say boo to me. But Swarovski right at the very last minute, had been given the contract to do Fashion Week here in South Africa, and they needed a designer. I needed to make 93 pieces in 5 days. To get to the dress rehearsal on the Friday midday, and Edith was the curator of the show. And I was petrified. And I arrived, I did this worked through the night, got these pieces done. And I arrived with the girls at Swarovski, Lisa Lotta, and I opened the tray, and her sister Alexandra turned around and said, "Oh my gosh, this is real jewelry." So I'm not sure what they anticipated I was going to be bringing, but that was their first comment to me. And that was where I met Edith.
Now, you make this amazing ring, which is the same as my pen, where you can open it up and unscrew it and change the stone on every day. When you have a different color, you change the stone.
Yes.
Tell us where that idea came from. How did you dream that one up?
All right. So I started the concept of Perfect You back in 2010. It took me 3 years of R&D because I tried different metals, tried different mechanisms, and all to make sure that the ring was strong and stable, that you could stack it, make variations. What I wanted to do was I wanted to give the girls the power to wear what they wanted to wear and not what I decided to make. This way around, you could wear fuchsia today and wear the fuchsia. I could wear navy today and wear the navy. And you can dress your own wardrobe. So I launched the first one, Perfect You, here in the United States in 2013 at a show called JCK Las Vegas. At that stage, it was the biggest jewelry showcase in the world. And I won an award for the design on original concept. But that year's one, I didn't actually sell. I sort of would go to trade shows and hold back on selling it. I was so afraid somebody would copy my design. And of course, they did a little bit, but not much. Then in 2023, I came up with the Limitless collection. And my hubby said to me, "Are you going to throw the family fortune at this one and not want to sell it either?" And I said, "No, this time round, I'm going to go straight to the wall and do whatever I can to sell it." And what I've done with this year's one is I've made it with a much smaller crystal, but 2 different crystal sizes, a 6 mil and a 4 mil, and you can stack them. So this way around, you can actually completely control everything about the ring. You can make it very big, or if you're 15 and you only want a little single 4 mm ring, you can do that. And it comes, of course, with that set of colors. So you can, I call it limitless because the options become limitless.
Absolutely. Now, in terms of creativity, resilience, and an eye for beauty, you carry that with every piece that you do. But now you don't only do Swarovskis, you do proper jewelry as well. Like you make beautiful,
yes.
I can't even remember what you called it, to try something ring. The stone is absolutely magnificent, and you just made it for me. So yeah, you can.
That was your beautiful. We found you an incredible 10-carat morganite with which is from natural stone from Brazil, which is absolutely stunning pink. Those are really, really difficult to find. It's a natural color. It's not heat treated. And there's been so much movement in the jewelry industry in the last 10, 15 years with what they've been able to do. So we went, of course, from having just a pure natural diamond as your engagement ring to bringing in moissanite as a replacement to now having lab-grown diamonds, and then taking natural gems like morganite, tanzanite, sapphires, and then taking them natural and then heat treating them to artificially amend the colors. So it's been really interesting to see who's doing what and how they're doing it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just so exciting. But before jewelry came into your world, you owned a gym in Zimbabwe. So take us back to that, because there you were healthy, a real health nut. You were at World Aerobic Championships. You were there representing Zimbabwe. And how on earth did you get from there to be doing jewelry? Did you still continue exercising, or did you give up exercising? How did that work?
Okay, so I've always been an exercise nut since the day I was born. So if I wasn't in the pool, I was just dead on my feet. So when you leave school, you kind of leave your coaches and you leave everything, and you get a little bit lost. And the world of aerobics was opening up so much back in the early 90s. So that's where I started that. the first thing I ever did was I came over to the US, and I was introduced to the step aerobics, and I brought step aerobics into South Africa and into Zimbabwe. And that was a really interesting stage of the game, and a real game changer with the gym. And it was being involved in that I was able to go to the World Aerobic Championships back in 1991. And I have a beautiful picture of me and you can see my flag enough to make out a Zimbabwean flag in the background there. And it was a wild experience. I didn't fare particularly well. I mean, the Americans and their coordination and music ability and everything is just absolutely mind-blowing. But it was a crazy experience. And then from that, what I did was, once I'd done the World Aerobic Champs, I got a little bit bored and decided that I was going to move on and do triathlons. I wound up, my greatest achievement there was doing an ultra distance triathlon in 1996 and coming in a silver medal time.
Wow.
And yeah, that was insane. And then I met my husband who took me and taught me that life, there was a life out there besides being in the gym and on the road and running and all that. And we got married and had a beautiful baby, but I still kept up running. And yeah.
I think that's sort of saying helps you when you need resilience. You need, in business, you need resilience. You need to be tough. You need to push through the tough times. And I think you having that sort of sporting background definitely helps you. But let's go back to your jewelry now, and your designs for Swarovski span. You do crystals, you do rose gold, yellow gold, white gold, stainless steel, absolutely anything. And now you do proper jewels as well. Not that Swarovski isn't a proper jewel, but I mean, you do like the diamonds and the moissanite and all that.
Precious. Yeah.
When you sit down to create a piece, do you sort of go into a zone, or do you just sit down and say, I'm going to create something really amazing today? How do you actually work that one out?
Nowadays, the work I'm taking is, except for like my Limitless collection and my Fashion Week collections like African Waterfall and African Thunderstorm, those are collection bases. What I do with a new collection is I will lay down what components I'm going to use on the table and just look, and I will play with components. Sometimes I will sketch it out, but usually it is a work with components at the desk. If I'm doing an engagement ring, which is my favorite to do, then what I will do is we'll sit down many hours with a lady and talk about who they are, what do they want, what are their aspirations, before even getting into the technicalities of what are their lifestyle, if they're terribly hard on their jewelry, or if they, and then I have an ability to see stuff like with your ring. I know that you trust me, and I would only ever come to you and say to you, Margaret, I have this design and it's just you. Okay. So I have ladies who just trust me and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I found it and this spoke to me. So that is also a lot of fun that I have with that. So there's kind of a couple of different hats that I'll wear.
Yes, and your designs are, although people describe them as fun, fashionable, and easy to wear, they are really easy to wear, and they carry such a joy with them. I think that you put so much love into actually manufacturing that you can feel it when you start wearing it.
Yeah, for me, it's coming from here. You know what? Business is business. Business can have a heart, and that I have learned this year wildly successfully in the last 15 months of doing shows in the United States.
Oh, it's so amazing. But you've been designing jewelry for over 37 years. How's your design philosophy evolved over those decades? Because, I mean, everything's changed so much in the time. When you started designing your little, pendants and things to sell to what you're doing today, is a vast difference.
It is a vast difference. So when we first left Zim, what I did was, the reason I went with Swarovski was Zim had always had sanctions on it, and we were always unable to import anything. So being South African was like being in the free world. It was a first world country by comparison. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to sort of break away from diamonds. Diamonds were going through a little bit of a stigmatism at the time with how ethical mining in Africa was. Of course, they've cleaned that up a hell of a lot in the last 10, 15 years. And so started with the Swarovski range, and that became high fashion as opposed to personal pieces. And
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun to evolve into that. And then commercial ranges, which are really pay the lights and water, has where I've been, but they've always been high-end fashion. I know
Yeah.
that if I mass-produced some of my pieces, I would probably be a load wealthier than I am now. But that's kind of not what I'm all about. Not yet. Perhaps one day I'll take a range, and I always threaten to do a collection called Jenni Gault, which would be financially affordable to everybody. But
Yeah.
it's on the drawing board, so maybe that'll be the
Yeah.
next evolution.
In 2006, you were honored as the exclusive designer for Swarovski in South Africa at Fashion Week, and subsequently received your own Swarovski brand license number. What did that moment mean to you, and how did it change the trajectory of everything that happened after that?
Okay, that I kind of knew I was going to get it, my license number eventually,
Yeah.
because I was so pushy. I would every time it. Swarovski ran a program called World Jewellery Facets, and what it was theirs was an international launch to press and media of all their current designers, all the new design crystals for the new season, the colors, whatever have you. So it put me in the club and the league of being privy to what was coming out 3-4 seasons ahead of time. So it moved me into a totally different level. But what it also meant is that I would be able to attend the shows where my jewelry was at. And the most beautiful story is that I got accepted in my license based on my very first African collection called African Waterfall. Now, when they phoned and they told me that I had been chosen for World Jewellery Facets, I was the first African ever to be chosen for World Jewellery Facets. And I said to them, where will I be showing? And they said, Shanghai. And my immediate reaction was,
Where's
oh,
that?
okay. And they were like, Shanghai is like our biggest opening market right now. We're putting all our press and media into Shanghai. What's the
Yeah.
matter? So I
Yeah.
said, no, I want to go to New York. As it turned out, that particular year, I was showing in Las Vegas with a different collection. But I said to the guys from Swarovski, oh, well, I've got another collection called African Thunderstorm, which I got some sketches and a vague concept of African Thunderstorm, but in essence, it wasn't a complete collection at that stage of the game. And it belongs to the same serials. I'll take it to New York. And they said, hold on a minute. They phoned me back within half an hour, and they said, right, we will actually take African Thunderstorm to New York. So my point there is that always push that little bit more. You have to push that little bit more, because if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have taken Thunderstorm to New York. And I did from Shanghai. I got amazing coverage, and it was there that Herman Winkler, in front of some huge name designers. I was showing with Oscar de la Renta, he was still alive, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Karl Lagerfeld, just to name drop a couple of the designers. And he called me the world's most talented fashion jewelry designer in front of the entire press and media of China Fashion Week.
Wow, well, that's an incredible success and a leaf in your book. But now, with all this going on, in 2007, you were sitting there having lunch with your son, and you thought you'd been stung by a bee, but you suddenly realized that your life is about to change all over again.
Yeah. So I suffered a series of 8 heart attacks. What had happened, I didn't know at the time, that I'd had 4 minor heart attacks in the previous 6 months that had left a great deal of damage on my heart. And then on the Friday, I was supposed to be taking Beansy to go and see Nemo, and felt that I'd been stung by a bee, phoned Bruce, who said, no, he just had a feeling. And I had 4 continuous heart attacks after that.
Wow.
What happened there is I went in for heart surgery, and a clot was left in my heart. And the cardiologist said to me, it can wind up in your big toe or your brain. It wound up in my brain, and I had a stroke. And from that, I had to relearn to speak properly again. I would have TIAs. Frequently, I had 18 major ones that landed up in hospital where I just couldn't speak at all. And it was really a traumatic 2-year period of time.
Yeah, and it just to all the girls out there, you always go, you're going along merrily, and then something pulls the rug out from under your feet. You have to be able to keep on going. So, I mean, you were a triathlete, you trained 4 or 5 hours a day, you had exceptionally low blood pressure, your cholesterol was perfect, you never smoked, you never drank, and now suddenly all this happens. How did you handle that?
Badly. What had happened, because on the day I'd run 7 kilometers, and I really, really was in strong nick. My BMI was on check. I ticked every single health box that there was. There's no reason why I should have had the heart attacks in the first place. And that left me with a huge fear factor that they were going to happen again. And so what I did was I just rebelled up. I stopped exercising. I put on a great deal of weight. I started drinking. I drank way too much wine. So yeah, I really treated myself very badly after that. So
And you decided, well, this isn't working, so I have to go back to being healthy and cutting out the wine and all that again.
yes, I did. That was so in 2010 and 2012, I had to have a left and right hip replacements because of bone degeneration. That didn't shock me enough. But 2018, I got cancer, breast cancer, and that shocked me enough to make sure that I cut out all the bad stuff and except coffee and started taking my health a lot more seriously and getting back on the road and started climbing mountains.
Yeah, so we're going to go to that in a minute. But 7 weeks after your most damaging heart attack, you had to go to London for a jewelry show. So,
I did.
you just had to. And the reason I say this is to all the girls out there. Sometimes you think, oh, this has happened, that's happened. But you know what? You just have to get up and keep going, because if you don't keep going, you're going to stop. Once you stop, you
Well,
never
that
get
was
going
my
again.
thing. It's
Yeah.
I've worked so hard to get there, and London was 7 weeks after my stroke, and there was just no ways I wasn't going to go. And I said to the cardiologist, you can do this with me and make sure you help me out, or I'm going to do it by myself anyway.
Yeah.
And so what happened was he said to me, right, you're going to stay, we're going to do this, this, and this. You're going to stay in the UK for a month and recover and whatever, but you can do your show in London. And we did, and it was wildly successful. And that started my international sort of real powerhouse of brand motivation.
Yeah, and it's quite a thing to get yourself out of South Africa, because the South Africans, we're so insular, we're so comfortable there, to actually get yourself out of your comfort zone. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. I had to get myself out of my comfort zone
Yep.
to actually go and know that you can do more. So today you describe yourself as the healthiest, most unhealthy person that we can find. But you still go into each day with such a fantastic attitude. So tell us about, how did you build your mindset, and does it ever feel like it's going to crack?
Occasionally now, the mindset came with the whole attitude change towards health, taking it back to, in fact, I know that I've got a much healthier view now on health and fitness than I did even back in 2007, pre my heart attack, and that you can actually be kind to your body. But you have to be definitely firm with your body. We're allowed our little treats. And if your treat is a glass of wine, or it is a coffee, or it is a little Turkish delight, or whatever your fancy is, you can have it, okay? But it has got to be in moderation. We can't do, and as life goes so quickly that sooner or later you are suddenly 60 years old, and you do look back and you do have to look after yourself a little bit more carefully, or 60 years young, or whatever it is. But as long as you do the groundwork and keep it real, then you'll be okay. And it's such a good mindset. I also, a dear friend of ours, Laurie, years ago said to me, Jen, I slept terribly badly. And she said, you need to put on mindful meditation music. And I thought, hocus pocus. And then one day I did it. And now I swear by it. And if you've been traveling, I now don't, I've talked myself, jet lag just doesn't happen for me. I've talked
Yeah,
myself out of it. People talk themselves into jet lag.
I do.
I fly economy class on the cheapest tickets I can afford. And I'm usually at the back of the plane in the kitchen. And with all the noise and clatter and bang, my mindful music, I can actually put in my ears, get some sleep and rest on the plane without letting it stress me out, arrive here at 6 o'clock and actively do a 14-hour day. So it is all in here. Everything is in here. And if you control that, it was the reason why I was so good at triathlon back in the day. If you can control this, you can control everything. And you can't do it without a little bit of help.
Yeah, you do. I think with women, we have to ask for help. That's the most important thing. But then
Mm-hmm.
tell us the day when they told you you had breast cancer, and I remember you phoned me straight after that.
Mm.
And that's such a shock to one's system. But you immediately, I mean, I can remember saying to you, Jenny, have those old ones off, put some new ones on, get up and start running again. And you
Renew
did.
it. Yeah, absolutely. The best thing is what you've just said now is we can't do it on our own. And it's so hard to ask a friend, but asking is the cleverest thing. If you don't ask, you isolate yourself and you're truly isolated. Then you are on your own and you're not going to win. And phone a friend, phone whoever you are. My mum passed away years ago. And I didn't have a person, but Margaret was my person. I trusted her with business. We laughed and joked, we shared stuff. And yeah, by phoning you, Margaret, and just I needed somebody who was going to be real, who just said it like it was, who wasn't going to cry and say, oh, poor Jenny, who was just going to be pragmatic and say, right, job has to get done. Get rid of the tumor. That's all. That's the main. Get the boobs off, get the new ones on, and make sure now you look after yourself. And that's what you did. And that's what phoning a friend is all about.
Yeah, and you've never looked back. I mean, you've been
No.
cancer-free now for so long, and you're still going from strength to strength. But now,
Yeah.
tell us your mountain climbing, which is your latest. You see, I've got the mountains of Antarctica behind me here, which is my picture that I took. And so, mountain climbing, that's sort of got into your blood because you decided to do Kilimanjaro, and then there was no stopping you after that.
So what happened there was I'd been on some really nasty sort of cancer-related pills for a 3-year period, and COVID had happened and the lockdown, and it really sort of went 1, 2, 3. I'm not a stay-at-home buddy. I am a wanderlust, and I can't be locked down. So like so many people, it really hit me badly, and I really became destructive. And in 2021, Bruce and I went to Robberg for an early anniversary trip. And we climbed Robberg in Plettenberg Bay. And it normally is a 3-4 hour trip around the island there. And it took me 9 hours. And I was so mentally high from it. I just thought, this is where I belong. I'd never done anything. I had blisters from hell. My shoes were too small, and I did everything wrong. Didn't drink water, got dehydrated, got in the car, and I just thought, I am going to do this again and again and again. And on the way back to PE from Plettenberg Bay, I said to Bruce, I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, he'd just been with me for 9 hours around Robberg, seeing how I scrabbled up and down badly. And he said, that's a really bad idea, given my health things and all that. And I spent 7 months training for it. I used YouTube. I didn't have a professional coach. And I looked at this mountain and I thought, I am going to do that. And I had some very, very special friends give me some very, very special ideas. Your hubby and partner in crime, dear Ellen, gave me some really, really good, helpful tips as well. Yet again, calling on friends. You don't climb Kilimanjaro on your own. You climb it as a team. And I went off and I did Kilimanjaro. And it was incredible. I know the place on the mountain where my cancer went away. Like I said a few minutes ago, I don't believe in hocus pocus. I believe in science and medicine. However, there is something powerful out there that I never appreciated and gave credence to until the day I was on Kilimanjaro. And my porter said to me the next morning, Jenny, you're not sick anymore. I said, no, I definitely am not. It's gone. And the rest of the trip was a breeze.
So, and Jenny, when you've done Kilimanjaro, then you decided, no, you're going to go to other mountains. Which other mountains have you climbed so far?
Okay, so then after Kilimanjaro, I thought the bug had bit me, and you'd said to me, actually, come back with a plan because you will hit a low, and it's so true. After the mountains, you come back and you've had this incredible experience that the need to do more is so there. And that brings on also life's highs and lows, and you never get to the top. You can't be at the top. Not sure what the guys who get to the top of Everest think, because you've got to keep going further. Yeah, so you've got to keep going further. So what I did was 10 months after Kelly is I climbed to Everest Base Camp. Everyone asks me which is the hardest. They're both very, very different expeditions. But if anyone's doing it and wants to do it, they have to do Kilimanjaro first. Being African, it is an absolute treasure of Africa. It is a lot more basic and rural than South Africa is to visit, but it really has a heart, and the people are as hot and as kind as Zimbabweans are. So moving on, went to Everest Base Camp, and that was also incredible. It was very spiritual, and they have the whole Buddhist feelings and all the monk temples. And when you arrive in each of the little villages, you ring the bell on the way in and on the way out, and you can only walk around the left-hand side as you go through the villages. And it is just, it's absolutely incredible. And so I did that. Then 18 months after that, I climbed to 6,100 meters to Mount Mera. We were called off on summit day because of a blizzard. So I didn't get to the summit, which was 6,400 meters. I was hugely disappointed, but it just proves that mountain weather will do what mountain weather would do. But it was on the Mount Mera expedition that I fell 3 meters down a solid ravine. And again, the first person I contacted was you, who said, dust yourself off and carry on.
Dust yourself off, pick yourself up and start all over again. That's what I always say. And
Always.
And you survived that. It was not your day to go. God saved you for greater things. So tell us now about giving back to the community, because you collaborated with PJ Powers to create the Circle of Hope. It's a range of bespoke Swarovski bracelets where young South Africans were trained to manufacture the pieces with proceeds going to the community. What does it mean to you to use your craft to help uplift others? Because you've got a whole lot of people making these little bracelets.
Oh, it's very, very special. You know what? You don't get to be in the luxury industry. Mine is a luxury industry. You don't get to be in a luxury industry without giving back. And giving back, I've got a beautiful from a fortune cookie, and I actually read it yesterday. I've had it for years. Giving back truly in life has got to be without any personal gain. Now, we can give back for personal gain, that's fine. And I have no issue doing things for social media and for press to a degree. But when you give back, and you give back when there isn't any personal gain, that's a real give back. And I've always had that feeling. So we did the PJ bracelets back in 2016. And then what I did is in 2023, as I was moving and shifting my studio to bring in the manufacture of Limitless, as I had years and years and years of components, but of everything, of Swarovski, of everything, finding silver, gold, that I knew I just didn't need right now. And it was cluttering up my mind. And what I did was I took it to the water project management in Motherwell. Motherwell is one of the poorest, most dangerous countries, suburbs in Port Elizabeth. And Port Elizabeth is running the 6th most dangerous city in the world right now. So got a hold of these ladies, and we taught them how to use these components and make their own jewelry as well. And they were the gratitude. I ran a competition. I said to them, after today, you're on your own. I'm not going to run this business for you. You're going to run it for you, and we will help get you tourists, because they were starting to get tourists from the boats come through and see them. And now they manufacture their own jewelry as well.
Wow, that is just amazing. Now, with all this, you've navigated the worlds of fashion and luxury and retail and international trade, but at heart, you have to be a businesswoman. And nobody taught you to be a businesswoman. You had to teach yourself. So to the other women out there who have a talent, and like you have with jewelry, or they have it with whatever they're doing, How do you teach yourself business and to be business savvy? I know I always say the easiest way to do it is see if you've got money in the bank, you're doing well, and if you haven't, you're not doing well. But you
It's
have
as
had to
simple as
navigate
that.
times when you've had
Yeah.
no money, you've had to be in foreign countries, sort it out, just get it done. And yeah, and tell us about that business side first. Now, I always think when I think of you in business, I think you were at the Hong Kong show where the guy came up to you and was taking pictures of all your jewelry and you thought he was
That was
copying, but the
amazing.
next time
Yes.
he came and he bought it all. So yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
You don't. I was really angry at him because I thought, here he is, it's another copycat. I get copycats in my life all the time. They drive me insane. And yes, he was taking photographs of all my jewelry. And I was borderline on rude to him, but he came back several hours later and bought it all. And he was selling on WeChat. So way before TikTok Shop even vaguely became a thing, this guy was several generations. I think we're talking about Hong Kong 2013. He was several generations ahead of his time in doing that. He had 15,000 customers that were his, and he bought and sold to his customers. And what he did was he took pictures of 3 or 4 items that he liked, sent them to 5 customers. All 5 customers wound up taking the designs. Each of the customers lived hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away, so nobody was ever going to clash with the same jewelry. And that's how he started his business. And I thought, wow, it can be as simple as that, and we can overcomplicate it. But with being business savvy, maths and on the go and currency conversions and stuff like that, when you're working on your own, you have to teach yourself how to do it. It is my weakness. I can draw and color until the cows come home. I can come up with new designs at the drop of a hat. But that is all well and good. If you can't do basic business 101, you've got nothing. And this is where my whole sort of tours of USA started, was last year in February, was because business 101, I looked in the bank and no, there wasn't enough money. And I thought, you're not doing as well as you should be doing. And I had all these opportunities, and I've been on every international platform. I've shown at Paris Fashion Week. I've shown in London, New York, Hong Kong. Choose a fashion place, Shanghai, twice. And I still am sitting here with $0 in the bank. I'm doing something wrong. And February last year, I decided, no, time to make this as a big life change. And used Google, found out where the shows were happening in the USA. I literally had $7,500 to my name, and it was a survival instinct yet again. And I spent the whole year doing shows. I did 27 shows all in a 12-month period, and my order book just ramped up, and I am at full manufacture.
Well, it's just incredible. Now, if a young woman who's saying in PE or Harari or somewhere came to you and said, I want to build a global creative brand from where she should, what would be the first thing you would tell her? And what would be the most thing that people wouldn't tell her? People would normally say, you're never going to do this, but you've actually done it. So, you know.
Yes.
Mhm.
What I would say to her is, don't sit there and draw up your brand logo. For I spent 100 million hours thinking, I need the perfect logo, I need the perfect this, I need the perfect that. What you need to do is you need to get out and sell. What is your product? What are you selling? Supply and demand. I don't mind if you write internet programs or you manufacture jewelry or hats or whatever it is you do, you have to sell something, supply and demand. So where is that, and what are you selling?
Absolutely.
And your logo can come later.
And the website can come later. They want to do all
And it
that
can come
first.
later.
They do the easy bit first, and they forget about the tricky bit, which is actual selling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after 37 years of designing it, and you've got a global client base now, you've had all your strokes and your heart attacks, you've been through everything. What excites you when you pick up your tools and start building a new piece?
Okay, so it is the thought that I will be able to, it's the ability to go and explore further, because without any financial stability, you're going to be like this. Your head is locked, you're locked, because you're constantly working for the fidget of paying the rent.
Yes.
I'm not out of the waters yet. but I've got a little bit more of a clearer head of where I want to go and what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a good idea, and it does belong out there. And I know this now, but I know that I'm doing something proactive and I'm making the right moves now.
Yeah.
And I know that from a business person's point of view. But without studying a business, I studied as a cordon bleu chef. I'm a one-star chef. And without that, without any business sense, you can actually become a business person.
Yeah.
But you kind of got to want to do it. So when I pick up my tools now, that the idea is that I know I can go from strength to strength on this, and I know I can develop what I'm going to do next properly.
Yeah, now when you look at everything you've built and survived in the world today, and what you've given back to the world, what do you think what do you want the lasting legacy of Jenni Gault to be? You know, you don't want the accolades. I know you like me. I'm not into the accolades.
No.
I'm into proving to myself that I can do it. So, and how do you want people to feel when they've worn one of your pieces? Because I love your pieces. I wear them all the time, and I think they're amazing, and they make me feel good.
Okay, so what I want to leave behind is my tagline for the Limitless Collection is Style Your Adventure. And since mountain climb, you don't have to climb mountains. Everybody's got their own mountains. It's just a metaphor. Whatever it is, I want people to wear my pieces and remember that life is an adventure. And I don't want you sitting there in your lounge just watching television. Sometimes it's too easy to sit there and flick through the channels and get caught up, or sit on social media and just scroll. Don't mindlessly scroll. Watch something as important as this, or something that's going to give you the motivation. But then get off the couch and do it. Take that $7,500 and make the investment in you. And again, that is just a metaphor. It's not about the money. Take the ideas and create you. When I started Kilimanjaro, I couldn't walk 3 kilometers. I'd gone from an ultra distance triathlete to not being able to walk 3 kilometers around the block to the top of Kilimanjaro. Just take the first step. And my jewelry, I want to just say adventure. I wanted to make you smile. My legacy is just be adventurous.
Well, that is so amazing, Jenni, and so well done. And your story is one of the most compelling and creative human stories in South Africa. You've got world-class talent. You know that, you've been told it. You've got extraordinary resilience. You've got a spirit that absolutely refuses to be diminished. And this interview is genuinely going to move people. And I really hope it's going to move all those ladies who are sitting on the couch thinking, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that, and it's all right for them. But we are just two ordinary women who've done extraordinary things. And if we can do it, girls, you can do it too. So, Jenni, your parting shot to all the women out there watching tonight.
Come on, girls, you can do it. I know you can. I believe in you.
Absolutely. Just say, you know, you've got to write that story, I am enough, on your mirror, and just know that you can go out and do it. Jenni, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you all for watching. If you like this, please subscribe and join us next week when we've got another exciting lady speaking to you about the wonderful things that she's done. And I'm hoping that it will inspire you to get out and be the best you can be. But you have to take action. It's all in the action. And the minute you take that first step forward, the first step is the first step of your next journey. And you can have the most fantastic life. Remember that God gives you a blank canvas every day, and you paint that picture. Paint a beautiful one today. Thank you, ladies, and I'll see you next week.